afternoon, everyone. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. Thank you for joining us for today's Ask the CM World Community live stream. You can find us here Mondays at noon Eastern here in the U.S. I'm excited for yet another great guest today, sharing some awesome content marketing insight and expertise with me and all of you, our great content marketing CM World community members. So if you don't know what the Content Marketing Institute is, we are the leading training and education organization for all things content marketing. We run the biggest content marketing event in the world, Content Marketing World. You can check us out at contentmarketinginstitute.com. So as we get started here and you start to join us, please check in, drop a line in the chat, give me a virtual wave, let me know where you are joining us from. So, it's that time of year. It's the season of giving, right? We just wrapped up Thanksgiving holiday here in the US. Hanukkah wrapped up, Christmas is coming. So it's a time when we usually reflect on, everything we're grateful for, and we think about helping others. So along those lines, we decided that we would chat today about purpose-driven marketing. The 2021 Edelman Trust Barometer reported that the pandemic has caused a crisis of public trust in our institutions. And one way to win back that trust is through the idea of purpose-driven marketing. A shared purpose creates trust between the brand and the buyer, and it can be a deciding factor when customers make a buying decision, at least for me in many cases. And so if your company supports a worthwhile cause in an authentic and organic way, it can have a huge impact on your bottom line. So today we're going to dive into how you can support a purpose-driven content marketing strategy within your organization. So I see some people are checking in already. Brittany, hello. Carlos, thank you all for joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from. As always, if you guys have questions as we go along, please, of course, leave them in the comments. We love to hear them. We love the engagement with you. That makes it even a better conversation. So before I introduce our guest, I am going to pop up here the question of the day. Did your organization or company have a purpose-driven strategy? What initiatives do you support? Feel free to drop a link or share in the comments what it is. We'd love to hear it. Love to hear what you guys are doing. All right, I am extremely excited for today's guest. And we were a couple minutes late because we were chatting so much, catching up because I haven't seen her in a while. So she's definitely a good friend of mine. She's been named one of the top 50 influential women in content marketing, one of the top 50 B2B content marketing influencers to follow in 2021, award-winning marketing media professional, entrepreneur, speaker, and she serves as the Director of Digital Strategy for Quest Digital and Great Lakes Publishing. So welcome everybody, Jacquie Chakirelis. Hello.
Hello. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And we have people joining us from Vancouver Island, from Boston. Susan, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, let us know where you're joining us from and answer the question of the day. Do you guys have a purpose-driven content marketing strategy? We would love to hear about it.
Love from the UK too. Thank you. Joining us all over.
I know we usually have quite a few people from all over, so it's exciting to see who joins us. All right, Jacquie, first question. Why does it matter? Why should a company organization consider having a purpose-driven content marketing strategy?
Well, it turns out it matters a lot. And you mentioned the pandemic and the holidays, and a lot of people think that this is kind of a pandemic-driven type of strategy that's just come up recently. But really, if you look at the origin story behind purpose-driven business strategy and purpose-driven marketing, it goes pretty far back. But really, in the last decade or so, we've seen a new workforce, the millennial type of workforce, the Gen Xers, and now coming up the Gen Zers. They're the ones that have really driven this strategic shift, if you will, towards purpose-driven companies. And it's basically because they want to work for companies that have a mission, a purpose-driven mission to it. And they're choosing these companies over higher paying jobs. And that trend started to happen, I would say, again, about 10 years ago, but really started to become much more part of the business presence within the last 5 or 6 years. And not only are they choosing purpose-driven companies to work for, they're also using their wallet, meaning as consumers, they're choosing purpose-driven brands. And this isn't like 20 to 30%. This is like 70% of them want to work for a purpose-driven company, and 60% of the time they're choosing products that align with their ethical values. So as businesses, and we're talking about, big research firms are doing research and reporting on this, like McKinsey, Kantar, Deloitte. They're saying that if you were not doing this as a business strategy, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt pretty fast, because we live in such a transparent world that not having a purpose-driven mission and not communicating that to our consumers, to our employees, to our stakeholders will hurt us.
Those are some pretty big numbers, 60, 70% you just threw out there.
Yeah.
So if it's so great, like, why are companies hesitant to do it?
Yeah. So, again, I think that's why you're seeing some of the business research coming out that's really giving them some comfort in making some of these decisions, because business doesn't move that fast,
Mhm.
especially big businesses or CPGs. They're still doing a lot of the same things that they did 20 years ago. So to make the strategic shift, they're looking for research, they're looking for case studies to help them do that. And so again, that's why you're seeing some of these big research firms really doubling down on that. But then also there's risk involved. I mean, all you have to do is think of Nike and what happened with Colin Kaepernick, and some of the issues that they had, where they stood up and said, we are, putting our stake in the ground and choosing to align ourselves with those values, and then got, some negative feedback from it. And you don't have to be in corporate culture too long to realize that any type of negative feedback is always viewed very, scared
Mhm.
about, what people are thinking, and even if it's a small percentage. So it does take some bravery to do that.
Brittany's loving what you're saying here, but her comment was, "Why aren't they doing it?" She says, "Greed."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's her cynical view. Yes. All right. So you've sold me, Jackie. How do I get started with my strategy? What are some first steps I can take?
Yeah, so at Content Marketing World, when I presented on this, I talked about kind of looking at as a framework, like how can you get started if you're not there yet, and understanding that you're going to need leadership to help guide you. But if you're looking at your content marketing strategy or marketing strategy, there are some simple things that you can do to help you get down that path. And the first one is listen and align. And every content strategy, I don't care what you're doing, starts with your audience. You need to really hone in on what your audience values are. And you can use, social media monitoring tools, competitor insights. There's lots of ways that you can listen, but those are where you want to attract yourself, rather than, trying to go out left field on something that is not aligned with your business. Have your customers, your audience, tell you what they want from you. The second is making sure that we tell stories in impactful ways. Some of the things that we don't want to do is just think of this as a campaign. This isn't just a holiday campaign or something that is just related to one time a year. We are going out as a business to contribute to a charity. This purpose driven has to align with our business and has to be something that's long term and isn't a short term campaign. And finally, empathy really matters here. And I often use that empathy Venn diagram in my presentations where, one side is what the audience is thinking about. So some of those values that we talked about in our customer listing. The other side is what we as a business stands for. And what's in the middle is where we can have that impact. So that same content marketing diagram can be used in an empathy way. And those are really the kind of the bones to get started.
And you touched on this. So as with any content we produce, it must be done in an impactful way, right? So what are some suggestions for creating content around that purpose? So it's actually, organic and authentic and doesn't come across as fake.
Yeah, no, and it's a really good concern because you can see that some of the things that have come out again recently that is considered what they call COVID washing. So I talked about Reese Witherspoon and her dress giveaway with Draper James and how it was really a promotion to collect email addresses that was hidden under "we're going to give teachers free dresses" type of promotion, and that's not going to work. That is very inauthentic and a very promotional based. You also have to watch for sustainability and accusations for greenwashing. Again, that's something that you have to be aware of because it's very easy for companies to go down that path and saying, oh, we'll start a couple gardens in, the city that we live in, and all of a sudden we're sustainable. Nope, that's not going to do it. So you have to really make sure that, again, you're looking at those kind of frameworks and you're looking at it as long term. One of the examples that I use when we're talking about telling stories in impactful ways is what Aflac is doing with their pediatric cancer initiatives. I mean, they have been, as a corporate donor, giving to pediatric cancer causes, but they do more than that. They really turn their resources towards the families and help the families in what they're doing. So if you look up on Affleck's YouTube channels, you don't see commercials about, the CEO giving a big check away. You actually see the stories of families that are living with and surviving and thriving after a pediatric cancer hits their family. And that has helped other families dealing with that feel that they're not alone. And they didn't have to do that, but they felt that that was really important to their mission to support families, is giving them opportunities to grow their community. They've also developed a toy that helps children communicate. It's an AI robot that looks like the Aflac duck, but it helps kids communicate with their health practitioners and their doctors about how they're feeling, about some of the procedures that they're doing. So they're doing something more than writing a blog post, or a blog post series or doing a podcast. And those are the examples that we need to look towards and lean into as we develop purpose-driven content.
And a lot of people here agree with you. So Ann Ginn says it can't be a short campaign. It has to be a core. Brittany says foundational purpose is key. Lay a good groundwork and let the effort be a seed that leads to the garden's growth. Yeah. Andy says people want to do business with companies that align with values. Andy says we've had a garden on our campus for 6 years that's run by our employees. I love that. And we donate the food to the local food bank. That would be a fun project to do at lunch, like outside and weed out. Like if you had a bad day, you're weeding.
Yeah. You can just start to think how much content can come out of that, from recipes to, all kinds of things. So that's a perfect example.
Susan says express, what'd she say here? Express empathy, inclusion, authenticity, sustainability are key. Yeah. Chinwe, hope I said that wrong. He agrees it has to be a long-term strategy. So yeah, everybody agrees with that. And what about the bottom line? Well, if you're doing all these great, initiatives, I mean, we talked a little bit about like the impact on the bottom line can be pretty impressive.
Yeah. And again, kind of looking at who's the success in this area, Unilever is just an example of someone that has just leaned into purpose driven. And they started out, this is a CPG company, kind of like our Procter and Gamble. They started off with just kind of choosing 6 or 8 brands that they wanted to lean into purpose driven. And they saw success so early on, and such like huge success, like 69% more successful being a purpose driven brand than not being a purpose driven brand in that CPG. And we're talking about commodity types of things like shampoo and soap, things that you would think that people would use to make decisions on, that is just price related.
Mhm.
They saw such a success that they said, we're going to not only lean into this more, we're going to say as an organization, as a company, all of our brands are going to be sustainable and purpose driven as quickly as possible. And they're not only a great example of how you can improve the bottom line, but they're also one of the most competitive companies to work with. All the kids that are coming out of schools, Harvard to Oxford, they want to work for Unilever because of the success and the purpose-driven initiatives that they do. And I tell people to go to YouTube. They talk about their journey there quite a bit on YouTube. Brittany mentions Lush. I absolutely agree. Lush is a great example to also look at.
All right, Jackie, thank you so much for your awesome insight today. And thank you to everyone who has been joining in our conversation. We love it. Jackie, where can people find you?
Yeah, so really quick, I do want to mention, while I have an audience here, is to check out Tony Chocolonely.
Yes.
I started my content marketing world speech with the Tony Chocolonely story. It was started by a journalist who basically said, it is wrong that we have child labor, slave labor in this world that we live in today. And we see hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of kids in child labor because of the chocolate industry. We got to stop paying $1 for our chocolate and demand that the big chocolate conglomerates pay more for chocolate, so we can make sure that farmers are paid equitable and they don't have to choose child labor. So please check out Tony Chocolonely. You'll never look at chocolate again, and that's a good thing. Or never look at it the same way.
Same way. Right. I know. And I watched if you are have a pass to content marketing world, you can check out Jackie's session where she talks even more about it, which was super eye-opening for me. And I know we got a ton of great feedback about that example in your presentation. So for sure, check that out.
Great. You can find me on LinkedIn. I know my last name is hard to spell, but you can go to Twitter and it's LinkedIn there. It's a Greek thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's her last name in case you need to screenshot that or take a picture of it.
Right.
I'll put it in the comments too when I'm done here. So
wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for joining us. And thank you, all of you. We will be back here next Monday with another special episode of Marketing Makers with Robert Rose. And then we're going to have a little hiatus over the holidays, and we will be back in full force at the beginning of the new year, which I can't believe is around the corner. Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. See you, Jackie. Have a good day.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.